morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. I've got a lot of information, and we're gonna have a talk about something important that we need to deal with, all of us. But let's get into it here. All right, cosmic weather. First thing we're gonna start off. We're looking at our cosmic weather, how the energy is affecting us. So we're gonna look at our sun. What's coming off of the sun. The solar conditions, spaceweather.com, good site. Solar wind right now 478.7 kilometers per second gives us a planetary K index at the moment of 3, could get higher than 3 in the next 24 hours. We look at the coronal holes, we don't really see much of anything here, little remnants underneath. Our chance for flares are pretty high though. 80% chance we're going to get an M-class flare. That number has been creeping up from 60 to 65 to 70, now we're up to 80. And 25% chance we're going to get an X-class flare. Those are real intense ones. Geomagnetic storm activity is hanging about 30% chance severe in the high latitudes, and only about 24% is going to be active in the mid latitudes. All right. We've got here notice of incoming CME. Behemoth sunspot 1515 is crackling with M-class solar flares and appears to be on the verge of producing an X-class explosion. On July 4th, the active region hurled at least 4 minor CMEs into space, including one towards Earth. And here's the animated forecast here. Let's take a look at this. At the Earth is this little yellow one right here. And you can see the energy coming right off, hits the Earth directly. Right there. Alright, Earth is right in the path. As a matter of fact, at the point right here where it gets to be red, and you see the reddish color, darkest one, it's going right over the Earth here. Alright, the other one infected in all of this is Venus. And then, of course, this is the Kepler right here. Alright, now, I want to show you something, though, in regards to the solar activity, that they are not actually being honest in the reports that are being done. Check out this report right here. Okay, this shows some sunspot groupings that took place earlier in the week. Okay, this was even came, I believe, from last week. A new sunspot quickly formed. You see the grouping right here. All right. And as things progress, you're going to see the giant sunspot located in the south hemisphere produce an M6 flare on the 2nd. There's a little graph showing what went on here. This is the one we were just talking about. It's going to be hitting the planet. But now, look at this. Remember how we showed the sunspot and we just saw that like triangular area? Well, SOHO has had some problems. It went down when things got really intense out there, when the solar wind got up close to 700 kilometers per second. There started being reports all over the place across the internet that the images coming out from SOHO and the other observatories were not giving accurate data. So this is showing just before SOHO went down on the 30th. That's a much different image than we saw at the site. So if this is realistic to what is really going on versus what they are showing us, which was this here, well, there's quite a bit, and they are definitely altering what is happening. And the only reason they'd be altering is not wanting the general public to really see how intense things are getting up there. Perhaps not to worry people. You know, I guess powers that be feel that if people know the truth about what's going on, all they're going to do is panic, and then there's going to be lots of problems. So that's pretty fascinating. So we're going to keep our eye up on that. But yeah, they're not, you know, it's not first time that manipulation of the data has been, you know, brought up. It's been brought up quite a bit in a lot of areas, not only with the sun, but earthquakes. You can go to multiple different earthquake reporting sites, and you'll see on any given day different readings. The other day there was a 7-point earthquake on RSOE. It was listed as 7.0 earthquake, but when you go to USGS, it had it down to a 6.2. USGS doesn't seem to be real honest all the time. They fudge their numbers, and And if you watch closely, you'll actually see numbers change right in front of your eyes, and they'll downgrade sites. But then you go to other worldwide or international sites where you can register and look at the earthquake readings, and you'll see that there's different readings. So why the discrepancy between one being inside the United States and one being out of the country? Censorship. Censorship. It hits everywhere, and it's an ugly thing, and it doesn't give people the right info. All right, astrologically, we're still dealing with the same sun sign, Cancer. Therefore, the element we're dealing with is the element of water. Water is emotions. Water is how things flow. Then we've got the underlying element, which is the subconscious, the unconscious, and today we have Aquarius. Now, Aquarius, though it looks like water, is not a water sign. Aquarius is an air sign. Air is all about communication, words, actions. So we've got air underneath on the unconscious, and the conscious mind is water. So just think of those two elements and how air and water can work together. Okay, they can work really nice. Imagine if you're out at the lake or the beach and you got a nice gentle breeze blowing over the water. It's really nice. Maybe make some nice waves. People go out and do some surfing, some swimming. However, that wind can get really heavy, and then that water can be very dangerous. It can blow up like tsunamis, hurricanes, water spouts, all sorts of things if the water and the air doesn't play nice together. So the whole idea is learn to get this water and air. And if we break it down, water is feelings, emotions, air is words, actions, expressions. So underneath, we're trying to find the ways in which to express ourselves through this amount of feelings that are building up, the water, the flow. So we're learning how to continue to move this flow of energy along without getting caught up in the currents of the emotions and the heaviness, because we all know that emotions can be pretty heavy and we get caught up in them and dragged under, unless, of course, we find a way to swim through them. Now we're going to look at our moon phase. We've just passed the full moon. We're on the downside, which is called the waning, when it goes from the full moon back down to the new moon. 95% of the way there, making its way back down. On the Mayan Oracle, we're at a crystal tone day. Right here we have the crystal tone, 12. Also in the 12th position right here on the wave spell. The crystal tone, or the 12th tone, is called the crystal tone of cooperation. Crystal tone of cooperation. It's the time, as you can see right here, this next position is the 13th position where you jump off the wave spell to the next one. So this is the time just before the jumping phase of gathering together in committee to figure out what's going to be next. Sort of the round table meeting, if you will. Meeting of the minds. What's the next step in jumping off? Because this has been a whole progression. The wave spell of the hand, of accomplishment. And now we're getting ready to jump off tomorrow. So contemplating what that is. So today's crystal tone cooperation. The symbol right in the middle, which is the seal for today, is the white mirror, which is about reflection and endlessness of a reflection. And the guide for today is the dog. You got a supporting cast members of the star, which is the challenge energy of the day, the challenge to shine the light within us. The like-minded energy is the dragon, which is all about birth and nurturance, so really kind of honoring ourselves and kind of seeing a fresh opportunity to move forward with our ideas. And then the underlying hidden power is the night. And the night is all about dreams, abundance. So good opportunity, during these times. Pay attention to what your subconscious is saying, to those dream states. All together, put all this together and has a phrase: I dedicate in order to reflect, universalizing order. I seal the matrix of endlessness with the crystal tone of cooperation. I am guided by the power of heart. And then on the Gregorian calendar, we're at Thursday, July 5th, 2012. All right. So we've made it here in the United States past the first day, or past the 4th of July. A lot to think about on the 4th of July. A lot to think about. I'm going to get into this discussion in just a bit when we come back. What I want to start off with, though, for today is I got two short parts here of the Denver Airport conspiracy theory. There's a lot of symbolism in the Denver Airport. If you haven't seen it or aware of it, you're going to be aware of it right now in this piece. This will give you a good insight of what's going on there. Here we go.
Conspiracy theories have attracted the attention of many people throughout the ages. They range from questioning the U.S. moon landing, the real story behind 9/11, even deaths of rap stars such as Tupac. News and Views brings you a documentary on some anomalies that have been discovered in Denver Airport, Colorado, and on what we believe authorities have attempted to cover up about the mysterious characteristics of this airport.
Any traveler to Denver Airport, Colorado, is in for a scary experience. This airport has been the subject of many questions due to the unexplainable symbols, images, and stories that have surfaced. Denver Airport was built in 1995 on a span of 53 square miles. Even though Denver already had a functioning airport, a new one was decidedly built. This new airport had less runways and absolutely no new technological advancement. The only thing that this new airport has that the old one didn't is a strangely large amount of space. When looking at an aerial shot of the new airport, the layout has shocked many. Denver Airport's runways have been situated in such a way that resembles a Nazi swastika. Not only has the shape of Denver Airport been called to question, but also what is located inside. But who is in charge of all the weird nuances at this airport? The general consensus is that it is the New World Order. But who are the New World Order? Well, they are an elite group of individuals that include many of the world's wealthiest people, such as well-known political leaders, and those related to the British Crown. But their main goal is to create one united world government that has no regional boundaries. But this would only be possible in one way, and that is to commit a mass genocide and narrow down the world's population to 2 billion people. Their reasoning for this thought is because there would be more control. Denver Airport has a myriad of symbols that are correlated to the New World Order. There is a dedication stone in the airport that mentions the New World Airport Commission. However, there is no such thing. The New World Airport Commission is made up and was never created. One can only assume that it is alluding to the New World Order. Also, there is a plate on the floor that shows the symbols AUAG. Some may say that this is related to gold and silver. However, one of the sponsors of the airport discovered a new deadly strain of hepatitis known as Australian antigen, and this is also symbolized by AUAG. What is scary is that this symbol is located right in front of a mural on a wall that is about genocide. But let's talk more about the murals in Denver Airport. The murals located in the airport are the most notable features of this airport. The main mural stretches over 4 walls and was painted by Chicano artist Leo Tanguma, who was in fact Mayan. The first mural here shows 3 dead women, an African, a Native American, and a young Jewish girl. In the background, we can see the destruction of a city and a forest. This attempts to show the destruction of the world. Another notable part of this mural is the fact that there is a little girl carrying a Mayan tablet. This alludes to the Mayan date of December 21st, 2012. This is when the Mayans predict that the world is going to go through a rebirth phase. The main emphasis of this mural, once again, is the destruction of the world and the preservation of some life. The second mural shows a huge military figure wearing a gas mask and holding a machine gun and a sword. This sword is stabbing a dove, which is the symbol for peace, and implies that peace will be destroyed. There are grayish waves emanating from the figure, and these waves represent death, or in this case, a poisonous gas that has killed everyone in its path. This mural is the one with the AUAG symbol, the one that is related to the deadly virus strain. One can also see a line of weeping women holding their dead infants, and a group of dead children on a pile of bricks. The emphasis of this mural is of a cleansing that is going to kill a myriad of people in its path. However, interestingly enough, this mural has been painted over in recent years. The third mural shows all of the children of the world taking their weapons from each country and giving them to a German boy, who is then molding them into something else. All the children of this scene are of different ethnicity, and all seem to be relieved. The gas mask man in the previous mural is seen dead, and there are two doves perched on his body. The main emphasis of this mural is to show the return of peace after all the killings have taken place, and that there will be no more need for weapons in this perfect world. The final mural has a Jesus-like figure in the middle, who is holding a plant which symbolizes rebirth. All of the people are running towards this man with happy expressions. Animals are freely roaming, and everything seems to be in perfect harmony. This final mural alludes to a new Garden of Eden, where the world is perfect size, and everything could work together in peace after the genocide that has taken place. All in all, these murals, when put together, represent the formation of a new world filled with fewer people, and this is also the goal of the New World Order, which has been seen represented throughout various parts of the airport. The symbology of the airport can still be debated, but one thing that cannot be questioned is the fact that there has been a lot of mysterious construction work underneath Denver Airport. When first constructing the airport, there were originally 5 buildings, but out of the blue, the builders were ordered to bury the buildings underground because they were supposedly built wrong. Normally, a building that is built wrong would be demolished, but in this case it was not. This allowed for an underground base to be created, but there are still workers who are sent to work in these underground bases periodically. But when they are questioned about the nature of their work, they all refuse to comment. These underground bases have been going under more construction and now have underground tunnels that connect all the buildings together. According to a contractor, these tunnels have a strange sprinkler system that was added onto the roofs of the tunnel. But this sprinkler system has no valid use, as these tunnels are concrete and underground. If relating these sprinkler systems back to the sign of AUAG in front of the mural regarding genocide, then one must begin to wonder what the use of a sprinkler in a concrete tunnel 150 feet below the ground would be. These underground bases appear to be holding rooms due to the sheer mass and size, and some say that they even allude to concentration camps. This is because, 1. These holding rooms have no purpose, and when the airport authorities were questioned, they say that they are merely being used for storage. And 2, all the barbed wire fences face the inside of the airport, rather than facing the outside, which is what they usually do. This implies that they are trying to keep things in, rather than keep things out. And 3, the sprinkler systems have no use, but they may be related to the deadly virus Australian antigen and the pursuits of the New World Order. People have attempted to argue that the underground bases are being used for storage, but one fact must be questioned, and that is, why is the underground base 88.5 square miles long? And why were the 5 buildings mysteriously buried? No airport has or needs that much storage room. So what is this space really being used for? Whenever the authorities are questioned, they are not allowed to answer. We are not the only ones who seem to be fascinated with this airport. The Queen of England, alongside many other famous European royalty and politicians, are hurriedly buying property close to the airport under an alias. One can only assume that they must feel that there is something significant about this airport in order to do so. It is very easy to dismiss a conspiracy theory, but it is not hard to dismiss cold, hard facts that surround them. The odd happenings in this airport have been called to questions, but all the questions have been dismissed and have not been answered. Is the New World Order really going to attempt to take over? And if they are, does that mean that our own government is involved? Research nowadays can only do so much. Now, only time will tell. This is Zara Malik, News and Views.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News for today. Let's get over to it. I have 6 stories. All right, first story comes to us. Report about UFO activity over Laredo, Texas, July 2012. Laredo Paranormal Research Society is back from a trip to Roswell, where one of the presenters at this year's UFO conference. The team was invited to present some recordings of Laredo's last night sky that showed the Paranormal Society unexplained object floating above it. All right, let's take a look at this here.
Society is back from a trip to Roswell, New Mexico.
The team was invited to present footage showing some possible unexplained objects flying in the night skies above Laredo. The group has never revealed their findings to the public.
Until now, our Annette Garcia is the first to present their footage in this Pro 8 News exclusive.
Back from a trip to the UFO conference in Roswell, the director of the Laredo Paranormal Research Society says he's more enthusiastic than ever about what his group has managed to catch on camera in the skies over Laredo.
Guys see them? Like nothing.
This video has never been released to any media outlet before. It's part of a presentation made over the weekend by the LPRS to people like Stanton Friedman, a world-famous UFO researcher said to be floored by what he saw.
This is in the northeast part field of Laredo, Texas. And you can see that there's nothing, no structure, no building, no everything. We have checked on Google Maps. We have checked the ranchers' areas.
9:25 p.m.
They multiply from 1 to 2. We have seen them up to 10 lights at the same time.
All of the images are not visible to the naked eye, but are seen on infrared cameras, like this triangle-shaped object believed to be a UFO over the Winfield subdivision, and these mysterious blinking lights. Then there's the fast-floating object near an airplane over Loop 20 in far north Laredo.
The combustion structure of an airplane. That's about 4 miles distance. At the same distance, same night, there's no combustion. There's a round anomaly that you can't see. There's no combustion, no propulsion, full of energy.
Cuellar says on average 3 or 4 UFOs are seen here every week.
Look at the speed of this UFO here in Laredo, Texas.
All right, so moving right along. Next up here, we have a giant UFO orb over New Zealand. This was on the 4th, so we're looking for something like this here. More incredible footage of the 4th of July sighting out of New Zealand. Video looks to be massive UFO holding in a rain squall. Okay, let's check this out here. Alright, we're going to zip through. Okay. This is the image brought in. Question is this real? Is this not? And the reason I bring this up is because third phase of the moon, unfortunately, has had some questionable videos out there. Nonetheless, just because they're questionable doesn't mean they are not real things, because we are seeing quite fantastic sightings these days. So the video link's up here for you to check it out, see if you think this is real or not. Now, next one up here, CBS News features UFO sighting from Alvin, Texas. There's a new show out, the UFO Chasers. This is a piece. You can see this piece here is I'll play just a few moments of this here.
To a new poll, more than 80 million Americans believe in aliens, and 1 in 10 claims to have seen a UFO. I just saw
1 in 10. All right, so the National Geographic Channel put together a team to see if the truth really is out there, and it's for a new series called Chasing UFOs. Take a look.
A man named Mauricio Ruiz captured something in the sky above his neighbor's house. It looks almost like a saucer in the sky.
Almost. Very rarely do you have video footage where you have broad daylight, you have points of reference, you have something that's clearly in focus. So this gives us a lot to go on, and I'm very much looking forward to meeting this guy and finding out more.
We want to meet this guy. Joining us now, our team leader, James.
I'm going to leave that video there for you to check out on your own. One thing I do want to throw out there and just mention in regards to the National Geographic Channel, you know, when you look at the grid of who owns what as far as the networks go and you break it down, National Geographic is one of those channels that is owned, and therefore their information that comes out is somewhat censored. So they did a whole hit piece on 9/11, and then, you know, the whole nonsense came out later that what they were trying to say was bogus. And, you know, so are they really being honest or truthful with the American people on the shows they are putting out about UFOs? That's a good question. Again, with any of this sort of information, you got to take it all with a grain of salt and do your research so you can understand what's going on. We have to pay attention. We can't just rely anymore on just what our eyes see, because the technology these days can fake things. They can manipulate information and evidence, and we just need to be really discerning on what it is we're seeing. So it's good to look at all of the stuff and then use our discernment to know what's real and what isn't. That is the best way for us to go about it. All right, next story here. Alien cube mothership caught in SOHO, NASA photos. See this cube up there? Does that look normal to you? Well, here's something again, this square looking thing right up there. Okay. I was looking at the official SOHO image on iPhone, and I caught a cube-like craft again. As you know, I have reported the cube near the sun 15 times. Sometimes it looks flat and only reveals one side. Other side, it reveals a 3D black cube. This time it is different. We see that the cube is submerged halfway into the sun. I also see the same object on the side of the corona of the sun in the yellow photo. Alright, there we go right there. And then we got again right here in this red image. Alright, and all these images here, you can find these all on your very own just by going to the SOHO website, NASA SOHO website. See what that's all about. Alright, next up here, new crop circle, Macedonia, recorded on July 1st in the municipality of Karbinci near the city of Stip in the Republic of Macedonia. Alright. Let's take a look at what this is. out there. And our very last spot here today, spot about Hangar 18 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. What happens when a UFO crashes? Well, some experts claim that the UFO wreckage and even the pilots are transported to a top-secret facility in Dayton, Ohio called Hangar 18, located at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Declassified government documents prove that the disk from the famous Roswell event and fragments of other mysterious crashes were shipped to Wright-Patterson. Here's stories involving elected officials, UFO researchers, and former base employees, some of whom are going on the record regarding Hangar 18. All right, here's a nice piece here, has some information in it, some interviews. But yeah, Wright-Patterson is a place, if you don't know about it, check it out because it gives you some good insight about what's been going on there. All right, that's it. Let me jump away for just a moment here, play part of this song, and I'll be back because I have a lot more news. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth. People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid. 9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Alright, I'm going to come out of there because I got a lot of stuff I want to get to here. Alright, so yesterday we had the old 4th of July here in America, and boy, a lot to think about. If you recall, the piece I played a couple days ago was the Declaration of Independence. And if you go down all of the points, the reasons why the United States of America decided to separate from Britain, you can just go down point by point, and you can look at each one of those reasons, and you could apply them to this administration. You can apply them to the last administration. And you could go down that list and see that everything that King George III violated, the last couple of presidents that we've had have violated those same things. So the reason why we haven't jumped up into the same sort of separation as the Founding Fathers, I think it just goes to show where society has gone, that we don't quite have that character of humankind living here at this point in time. You know, one of the lines in the Declaration, paraphrasing, is that mankind is willing to suffer and suffer and suffer until, you know, until they get to a point where they just can't take it anymore. But that's kind of the situation. People are too willing to take it, to suffer all the pains and problems rather than do something. Too much apathy. But a lot of that comes because of what's shown out there on televisions, and people aren't encouraged to go out and step up. And when they do, there's someone out there to try to smack them down. Well, I'm thinking about all this stuff the other day, and I'm getting really kind of frustrated because I hear all the stories and the nonsense. I mean, look, the United States of America in 1776 signed the Declaration of Independence. It was less than 100 years later, in 1871, less than 100 years, and the United States of America became a corporation. Okay, that's only 95 years, not 236. Yes, 236 since America was founded, but we haven't been a free nation for 236 years. 95. Because then the Constitution at that point was replaced by the corporate rules. And then when it came to be 1912, further restrictions came on. The Federal Reserve Bill came into effect, and America has been a slave to the Federal Reserve and forces outside of this country ever since. So we're not a free nation. And our Constitution is being torn apart every day. Our Declaration of Independence has been torn apart a long time ago, and we're in a sad state of affairs. So what do? Well, we can't go out there and physically fight. That doesn't make any sense because the military and the police forces have been trained to fight against the civilian population. And what are you going to do? How are you going to fight against someone who has the guns and the weaponry? You can't really do that. There needs to be a way that we, as the people, not only of this country, but of the countries around the world, we got to be smarter in the way that we're going to go in and we're going to defeat this new world order. Okay? Now, most likely, this new world order agenda isn't considering or looking at things in all sorts of ways. We need to be intellectual. We need to be smart. We need to go with the spiritual side of things. In the book of Revelation, in a lot of other prophetic works, there's a talk about a battle between light and dark. Ultimately, that's what's going on here. And as we get to the end of this show here, I'm going to point out some areas that we are going to specifically need to take some action on as light workers on this planet very soon, because there's some very definite dark work that is being done out there. I'm going to get to that momentarily. Before I get to that, this is what's going on, a little preview of Sheriff Joe's findings that you're going to hear about real soon.
The Globe is reporting in their ink and paper magazine that Arpaio's cold case posse has tracked down the person who forged Barack Obama's birth certificate. Now the posse's lead investigator, Mike Zullo, tells the Globe in a blockbuster exclusive that his team has interviewed the, quote, person of interest, and they're convinced this person pulled off the forgery. Zullo, who was sent to Hawaii to dig for the truth, has promised breathtaking information at a press conference to be held on July 17th. After a 6-month investigation, Arpaio's team concluded the birth certificate released by the White House in April 2011 is a computer-generated forgery and not a scan of the president's real August 4, 1961 paper document. Arpaio said at that time, if this document is forged, those responsible, whoever they are, should be brought to justice. Now all attention is focused on the man and his helper who investigators are convinced forged the documents. Says the source to the Globe, quote, this guy is the key to the biggest fraud in American history. Folks, hang on. This is going to be a hot, hot summer. The Washington Times calls it a must.
So, very important information there, and I'm guessing, just off the top of my head because I haven't flipped on through the mainstream news, I'm guessing you're not going to hear the story on Fox today, or MSNBC, or probably ABC, or CBS, or any of the mainstream. Pretty certain they're not going to address this topic because they don't want you to know. Because, see, even though you've got the Republicans and the Democrats, the big joke is that they're both on the same side. And the media, the mainstream media, well, they're also on their side as well. And they take their agenda and their orders not from the United States, but they take their orders from an international body that determines how news is going to go out throughout these mainstream organizations. You know, you can go back to the 5 to 6 organizations that have control over all the media. Well, they're getting their marching orders from Federal Reserve, from NATO. These organizations are not the, are behind the scenes pushing the buttons in ways that Americans don't realize. And if Americans, I believe, if Americans really realized who was pushing the buttons behind their mind and their thinking, they would step up and they would take some action. But for the most part, Americans just seem to be too willing to bypass that information as if it's not important, as if somehow it will get taken care of on its own. It won't, because the liars continue to lie. Now, here is Obama's Social Security number is being challenged. Okay, this is by Jack Cahill over at WND. If Barack Obama has immediate eligibility problems, it is more likely to derive from the Social Security number he has been using for the last 25 years than from his birth certificate. Ohio private investigator Susan Daniels has seen to it on Monday, July 2nd. She filed a suit in Georgia, in Geauga County, Ohio, Common Pleas Court, demanding that John Husted, Ohio Secretary of State, remove Obama's name from the ballot until Obama can prove the validity of his Social Security number. Daniels, who vetted thousands of Social Security numbers for numerous other clients, has done her homework. In her filing, she thoroughly documented her contention that Barack Obama has repeatedly, consistently, and with intent misrepresented himself by using a fraudulently obtained Social Security number. To acquire appropriate standing in the court, Daniels has gone to the trouble of establishing herself as a valid write-in candidate for president. Before she is through, the 70-something mother of 7 who has been a licensed Ohio private investigator since 1995 may cause Obama more trouble than the Romney campaign. All right, something there. Someone's finally attacking the Social Security number. You've heard all the stories about the fraudulent and how this number can't even pass through E-Verify. So, good. Let's keep the pressure on Obama. Remember, the 17th, we've got the cold case posse information coming out again. Now, on Monday, there's warnings about internet problems that could occur. Malware may knock thousands off the internet on Monday. How to check whether you are vulnerable. The warnings about the internet problem have been splashed across Facebook, and Google internet service providers have sent notices, and the FBI set up a special website. But tens of thousands of Americans may still lose their internet service Monday unless they do a quick check of their computers for malware that could have taken over their machines more than a year ago. Despite repeated alerts, the number of computers that probably are infected is more than 277,000 worldwide, down from 360,000 in April. Of those still affected, the FBI believes about 64,000 in the United States. Users whose computers are still affected Monday will lose their ability to go online, and they will have their service providers, they will have to call their service providers for help with deleting the malware and reconnecting. The problem began when international hackers ran an online advertising scam to take control of more than 570,000 infected computers around the world. When the FBI went to take down the hackers last year, agents realized that they turned off the malicious servers being used. All victims would lose their internet service. So then they have links here where you can go to this FBI-approved site to check your computer. Yeah, you want to do that, right? I bet you want to jump right over to the FBI site and have them check your computer, don't you? You know, Malware Bytes, M-A-L-E-W-R-E bytes.org. There's a good free malware scanner right there. Go check that out. Use that. Run that on your computer. That's a good way to check for malware, and they're really pretty good service. As I get some other ones, I'll collect a couple other ones and I'll post them and talk about them tomorrow so that you can go and check on what to do and how to get these things off. All right, the IRS. Finally, the IRS is getting audited. This comes to us from WND. It says the agency that strikes fear into many U.S. taxpayers is getting a dose of its own medicine, as it is now the focus of a year-long audit for allowing illegal aliens to scam the system and bilk taxpayers out of billions of dollars every year. Federal employees are blowing the whistle on the Internal Revenue Service, according to a report by Indianapolis television station WTHR. The scam involves the use of the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, or ITIN, a 9-digit processing number assigned to the IRS to individuals who are obliged to file a tax return but do not have or are not eligible for a Social Security number. Illegal aliens may obtain an ITIN by sending the IRS documents such as the original notarized copies of birth certificates, driving records, voter ID cards, school records, and vaccination records. All documents that are easily forged or falsely notarized. Well, it is a big scam. It's good to see that some action is going on there. We'll see how this one turns out. You know, the IRS, for many of you don't know, and I had this discussion with somebody the other day, the IRS is not a branch of the federal government. They are basically a collection agency of the Federal Reserve. Okay? The Federal Reserve is the agency that is behind the United States. The IMF is the organization, the banking structure there. There's a whole lot of stuff that's going on that the IRS is a part of, but the United States government is not one of those things. And so there's a lot of fraudulent activity in the way that the IRS system has unfolded. Aaron Russo, his last film project was called From Freedom to Fascism, is a story, a documentary, and he had only one goal in mind through the course of it: to find the law in the books that says Americans have to pay income tax. And through the whole course of his documentary, he goes and he speaks with IRS agents, and he gets all the way to the top, speaking to the heads of the IRS in the actual IRS buildings themselves. And through the course of this, not even the head of the IRS could provide him with that information. And when the head of the IRS didn't like that he was being asked, it's all there on film. You can watch it. He threatens Aaron Russo on camera, threatens him because the questions got a little too intense. So the IRS doesn't really want you to know what's going on, because their activities and the way they went about things and how they do things, very fraudulent. Now they want to bring the IRS in with health care to help collect. It's getting nonsense, folks. It's getting really crazy, and these are things that need to be stopped. Now, we're going to turn our attention here to something which is quite important. Quite important indeed. Okay. Terrorist attacks, mass murder, and aliens. Plans for the global elite for the 2012 Olympic Games. This is from Susan Purcell of the Intel Hub. Now, you've heard these stories, and I've been talking about them, of all the different things that are going to be taking place at this upcoming Olympic Games. From the talk of terrorist threats to the talk of aliens from Nick Pope to the information coming out about the security, the G4S, and all of the coffin liners that are being ordered out there, and all of the claims that they are practicing on how to evacuate people from London. There's a lot of nonsense going on with this Olympic Games. Way more than people realize. Okay? But here's where it gets weirder, and here's where we're going to have to pay attention. On the day of the opening ceremony, as we've talked about, these 10 children are going to participate in the opening ceremony. Now, it's great that there's these children participating in the ceremony, right? Hold on. It's great that these people are getting involved with the ceremony. But the unique thing is, all of these children were born on the winter solstice. On the winter solstice in 2004. They are all going to be 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days old on the day of the opening ceremony. Now, what does that sound like to you? What does it sound like when you have an opening ceremony and all of the children up there are very specifically handpicked because they are going to be 777 on that particular day? Someone went to a lot of planning to make sure that this number was going to align itself. Well, let's take a step further. Right here. I want you to look here at this. See this? This is the stage inside Olympic Stadium where these children are going to be. Why is there a black magician type figure in front of this black obelisk doing on the Olympic stage? The same stage where there are going to be 10 children, all going to be 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days old on that day. Why? Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think that they are going to be doing a black magic ceremony on that day. And if you don't believe me, that's okay. But for those of you who do, this is a call out to all light workers, because I believe that we need to stand together as light workers on this planet, and we need to contradict the energy they're going to put out. We need to be praying, and we need to be putting out light and positive energy to protect the people of the planet, to protect the children. We need to be doing our part now, because they are going to be doing a black magic ritual in front of the whole world to see, with a group of children hand-selected that were all born on the winter solstice. Now you put all that together, and doesn't that sound like some sort of ritualistic sacrifice? Maybe way out there, but there's the stage, and there's a black magician figure on that stage, and you tell me how and why that black magician figure should be on that stage at an Olympic ceremony. Okay? I don't have a good reason why other than what I just told you. And having put together the clues and looked at all of that, pretty convinced that's what's going on, and I'm pretty convinced that we of the planet Earth, the light workers on this planet, need to do something about this. So spread the word. Light workers, we got our job cut out for us. We've got to counteract a black magic ceremony that they're going to be doing on July 29th at the Olympic Stadium with the whole world watching. Laugh at me if you want for saying this. I don't really care, because I know on that particular day what I'm going to be doing, and I'm asking all others out there that are able to send light to help to adjust this and counteract this. I'm asking you to pray and do the same things on that day. All right? Moving on. This next story here. You know how you keep hearing about the stories of these portals that are going on? Portals in the sky that we're seeing. Well, there's getting to be more and more of them. More of these spirals and events. So many so that this is what we're going to see more of. See, disclosure is not going to happen because Earthlings, scientists decide that they're going to suddenly tell you what's going on. No. Earthlings are taking way too long to disclose. So disclosure is going to come from the outside in, from the extraterrestrial sources, the space brothers and sisters who are there to help us. They are going to present themselves as they are doing in such a way that people of the Earth will understand that something is going on, and those who are trying to deny and cover it up will no longer be able to cover up. Case in point, right here, NASA, the NASA.gov website, NASA.gov, hidden portals in Earth's magnetic field. Okay, I'm going to play this piece for you. It's only 3 minutes long. This is to show you that they are now getting people used to and explaining the ideas that these things that have been talked about of portals and fields and so on, they actually do exist. And here we go.
Hidden Magnetic Portals Around Earth, presented by Science at NASA. A favorite theme of science fiction is the portal, an extraordinary opening in space or time that connects travelers to distant realms. A good portal is a shortcut, a guide, a door into the unknown, if only they actually existed. It turns out that they do, sort of. And a NASA-funded researcher at the University of Iowa has figured out how to find them. We call them X-points, or electron diffusion regions, explains plasma physicist Jack Scudder of the University of Iowa. They're places where the magnetic field of Earth connects to the magnetic field of the Sun, creating an uninterrupted path leading from our own planet to the Sun's atmosphere 93 million miles away. Observations by NASA's Themis spacecraft and Europe's cluster probes suggest that these magnetic portals open and close dozens of times each day. They're typically located a few tens of thousands of kilometers from Earth, where the geomagnetic field meets the onrushing solar wind. Most portals are small and short-lived. Others are yawning, vast, and sustained. Energetic particles can flow through the openings, heating Earth's upper atmosphere, sparking geomagnetic storms, and igniting bright polar auroras. NASA is planning a mission called MMS, short for Magnetospheric Multiscale Mission, due to launch in 2014 to study the phenomenon. Bristling with energetic particle detectors and magnetic sensors, the 4 spacecraft of MMS will spread out in Earth's magnetosphere and surround the portals to observe how they work. Just one problem: finding them. Magnetic portals are invisible, unstable, and elusive. They open and close without warning, and there are no signposts to guide us in, notes Scudder. Actually, there are signposts, and Scudder has found them. Portals form via the process of magnetic reconnection. Mingling lines of magnetic force from the Sun and Earth crisscross and join to create the openings. X-points are where the crisscross takes place. The sudden joining of magnetic fields can propel jets of charged particles from the X-point, creating an electron diffusion region. To learn how to pinpoint these events, Scudder looked at data from a space probe that orbited Earth more than 10 years ago. In the late 1990s, NASA's Polar spacecraft spent years in Earth's magnetosphere, explains Scudder, and it encountered many X-points during its mission. Because Polar carried sensors similar to those of MMS, Scudder decided to see how an X-point looked to Polar. Using Polar data, we have found 5 simple combinations of magnetic field and energetic particle measurements that tell us when we've come across an X-point or an electron diffusion region. A single spacecraft, properly instrumented, can make these measurements. This means that a single member of the MMS constellation, using the diagnostics, can find a portal and alert other members of the constellation. Mission planners long thought that MMS might have to spend a year or so learning to find portals before it could study them. Scudder's work shortcuts the process, allowing MMS to get to work without delay. It's a shortcut worthy of the best portals of fiction. Only this time, the portals are real. And with the new signposts, we know how to find them. For a portal to more NASA science news, visit science.nasa.gov.
So, NASA is admitting that these portals are now real. Why? Because there's enough being seen out there that they can't deny anymore. See, they can only deny until it gets to the point where so much information that they look stupid denying. They look stupid denying anyway because people are smarter than they think, but when it gets to something like that, well, they have to let people know eventually, right? All right. Last story here, God particle discovered. If you have or haven't heard about this, the Higgs boson. Earlier yesterday, scientists from Atlas and CMS experiments at CERN's Large Hadron Collider announced the discovery of a subatomic particle that's consistent with the Higgs boson. So, have physicists finally found the elusive particle? Short answer, yes. Long answer, well, let's all put on our physics hats for a moment. Stick with us, it'll be worth it. Yesterday, July 4th, scientists announced the Higgs boson, a God particle, does actually exist. Man has been possessed for years on the biggest, the tallest, the fastest, but sometimes it is the smallest that will provide the most answers and shed light on something that will explain the largest thing of them all, the universe. So what is the Higgs boson? It's a hypothetical particle predicted by the standard model of physics that is thought to give mass to matter. So basically, it's just how the universe was formed. No big deal. But researchers aren't quite ready to say they've made a discovery. I agree with any reasonable outside observer would say it looks like a discovery. Theoretical physicist John Ellis, a professor who works at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, tells this Associated Press, "We've discovered something which is consistent with being a Higgs. Either way, the discovery will shed light on the workings of the universe." So, science is continuing to move forward, expanding and looking outside the universe for such things. It's very important that we continue our focus to see what's out there. Is capturing a God particle actually the answer? Well, probably not. But it gives the humans something to do. Earthlings like to do these things until they find out something a little bit more sensible, and so in the meantime, it keeps them occupied. Anyway, next up and last up is our meditation for today. So let me go ahead and set ourselves up here. You know, the only other thing that I think comes to mind that's important is 2012. We've heard a lot about this year, what's going on. Some people think that it hasn't been a very big year because we haven't been filled with all sorts of natural disasters, but in reality we have. But what's really going on is a revolution of the human spirit. Humankind is stepping up. They realize they've been lied to for a long time. And though there are still many in the dark, there are many who are waking up to what's going on. Now, with this upcoming Olympic season, we are going to be seeing a lot more things escalated. What's going on over there in the UK should be quite eye-opening for the world. And if there are events that are brought about, like UFO type of events, the ones that of which they are talking about, there is something planned about that event. So there could be a event like a Project Bluebeam holographic type event which is planned for the American people, or maybe there is something that is coming down. Thing is this: Book of Revelation, Jesus said he would be returning in the clouds. So UFOs, spaceships, travel in the clouds. So the possibility is that Jesus could be on one of these spaceships that could be coming down. If indeed you are one who believes in Jesus, you're not going to want to shoot at that spaceship, are you? If you are a Christian, you've been waiting for Jesus for a long time. You're not going to want to shoot at that spaceship, are you? Therefore, you're not going to want to necessarily listen to your government telling you you should be shooting at those spaceships, just in the eventuality that on that spaceship is Jesus and the angels and whatever the other crew is, however they would travel down here. Now, I'm not saying that that's exactly the case. I'm just saying that in the book of Revelation, that's the story we've been told. We're returning in a cloud. But then we have the ones who we know are the liars on this planet, the governments, the administrations. They're the ones who are saying we need to be aware of an alien attack. And then the movies, which support the government agendas, they're telling us we need to be afraid because the aliens are only going to come to attack. Well, why is that? They're out there, they're showing themselves. If they wanted to attack, believe me, they would have attacked by now. They wouldn't wait for this planet to amass a supply of weapons that could fight against them. They would come in, they would attack, they would do what they have to do. But they're slowly revealing themselves so that people can understand that they exist. There's also an awareness that humankind has been conditioned to believe that any extraterrestrials coming down are going to be bad. And so there's that awareness as well of not wanting to scare the humans. So pay attention. There's a lot more going on with the extraterrestrial phenomena. Those on your planet, the leaders, they don't want you to know about this, because any race that comes down and it has the technology in a ship, guess what? They might have a little bit more power than the leaders on this planet. And one thing about the leaders of this planet, they're power hungry. And they don't want anybody else to have more power than them. So they will do whatever it takes to convince you to fight against those who are coming down, even though those coming down might be coming down for your benefit. So before you get all high and mighty and ready to get angry and start shooting at anything that comes down, you better pay attention to what it is, just in case those coming down might be exactly the ones you've been waiting for to provide the assistance that you've been asking for. So think clearly on this. Don't let yourself be pulled into a situation by a government that's gone rogue, that's telling you you have to shoot at something that you don't know what it is. Use your sense. Go inside to figure out what's important. Use your sense of discernment. So that in mind, let's focus our attention towards that for this meditation. So let's imagine that we are walking along a path. Now, I like the path because every day we're walking along the path. And as we walk along the path, we realize that life itself is an endurance event. We have to endure physically. We endure mentally, emotionally, and of course spiritually. Think about the 60s for a moment. Imagine all of those activists and all of those who were standing up for the right way of living, for that which was right. Years have gone by from the 60s to the 70s, to the 80s, to the 90s, and now into the 2000s. All of those activists and their ideals, they've had to keep them alive with their endurance. And as we endure and as they endure, those ideas get passed on to others. And we learn to endure with those ideas. Because we know that even though our lives have only a certain amount of time, there are those who will come after us. And in order for them to live in a world that is a world filled with love and not the doubts and the fears that are out there, this is the time where people need to step up and think about them. So we must endure. And we must endure, and we must be able to see clearly. Because part of the process of enduring is using our sense to know what is right from what is wrong. Those that do not use their sense, they don't endure, because they get squashed out. So imagine yourself enduring through the process of life, day after day, month after month, year after year. And with that endurance comes wisdom. And with that endurance comes compassion. And the one thing that we need to remind ourselves during this phase of endurance is to maintain the passion that we have, so that we can continue our ideals from one year to the next. So let us imagine taking the idea of truth and extending that truth for the next 100 years, the next 1,000 years. Let's imagine us enduring as a race, on and on. And each year there is more truth. Imagine that each year the doubts fade away even more. Imagine each year there is more communication. Now I want you to bring your energy and attention back to this moment, and I want you to imagine that we are standing in front of a stage, and one by one we are walking up on that stage, and each one of us are receiving a diploma of graduation, because we are making a graduation, my friends, from where we are as an earthly society up into becoming a galactic society. This is a galactic graduation of 2012 for everyone on the planet. And with the graduation comes a higher sense of understanding. For the graduation only occurs by allowing ourselves to understand things from a higher perspective. Imagine that as we go through and we step into this graduation that we are all a part of, imagine our eyes becoming opened to even more of the truths of the universe. And as we do, all the doubts and the fears and the lies fade away, for we realize they don't matter. We realize that those who are behind the doubts and the fears, that they don't matter. That all that matters is love and moving forward step by step to make the world a better place. And anything other than making the world a better place dissipates, fades away, and becomes a thing of the past. We've dealt with that nonsense of doubt and fear. Now is the time of love and faith. So let's hold the idea of love and faith in our hearts. Love and faith. And keep that in your heart. And think about that today as you travel through the world. And let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it. That's the end of our show, our prayer, our meditation. So, thanks for being here again. It's been a long journey. Today was our 699th show. Tomorrow, 700. And, well, just looking forward to what's coming up. What's coming up, indeed. You have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Go back and recheck through some of the stories. There's a lot of information there, a lot to grasp, and share the stories with your friends, especially the information about what's coming up with the Olympics. We really do need to bond together on this one, because there really is something dark and sinister that is going on, and we need to step up and stand against that. I'll talk to you tomorrow, my friends. Be safe. Have a great day. Peace. I'm out of here.